Because we do not yet have a quorum, we're going to start as a subcommittee. And first and only up, Representative Veit, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Rudy Veit, representative for 59th District. I have before you House Bill 90. It's a bill which I think most of you are familiar with. Most of your lawyers and those aren't are familiar with court optimization, CaseNet. All it is doing is extending the sunset provision where they're getting part of the fees with the filings. Last year, I think it was $5.5 million came in. Goes to help operate, and the court optimization is one recognized throughout the United States as a great system. There are several other parts of the bill. One is the court reporters' pay, and that one basically what happened is our court reporters were being, beginning court reporters being paid the same thing as same amount as one that's been working there for 25 years. There are some numbers that were put together by the court and the court reporters, a number that everyone could agree upon. There's also a provision in there about deleting some personal information for next of kin, et cetera, on filings. And then the very last part of it is just a provision deleting some language out of a bill that was brought to our attention by Representative Brenda Shields, where they passed a bill last year and forgot to delete some language. So basically, and this bill has been through numerous committees and numerous hearings, but it's not crossed the finish line. And court optimization, as you're aware, is something, fee was one of the main things the Supreme Court was looking for when they gave their State of the Union report this year, or State of the Judiciary report, so I asked your support.
Great. And Representative, the provision dealing with the court automation fund, I know there have been some past versions of this Senate committee.
This does not have it still has a sunset in it.
It still has a sunset in it?
Yes.
Okay, and do you have any objection to the sunset being removed?
Not if it will stop, unless it will somehow stop it from getting passed. I have removed it in about every other bill. So.
Okay, fair enough. So you're in support of...
Oh, yes.
Okay,
yeah.
We're on the same page on that then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any further questions for the representative? Seeing none. Witnesses in support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Lukemeyer. Members of the committee, my name is Patricia Churchill, testifying in support of House Bill 90 today on behalf of the Judicial Conference of Missouri. You've probably all heard it before, but this is critical to maintaining sustainable funding for the court automation, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Patricia? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next witness in support.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Eric Jennings, General Counsel for the Missouri Bar, testifying in favor of House Bill 80 on the court automation fee extension. Be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Eric? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Further witnesses in support. Seeing none, any witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, any witnesses for informational purposes only? Seeing none, this will conclude the hearing on House Committee Substitute for House Bill 90. I now make a motion that we go into... Brad, please call the roll.
Senators Lukemeyer,
Here.
Schroer, Coleman, here. May, here. Roberts, Thompson Grader, Trent. Got a quorum.
All right, I now make a motion that we bring before the committee, Senate Committee, House Substitute for House Committee Substitute. I would make a motion that we go into executive session. Do I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those contrary, no. The ayes have it. We are in executive session. Now make a motion to bring before the committee House Substitute for House Committee Substitute for House Bills 1108 et al. Do I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those contrary, no. The ayes have it. The bill is before the committee. As you can see, this bill started off as a fairly large bill when it came over from the House to the Senate. We've made a few modifications to it. I think all the members of the committee should have received the proposed Senate committee substitute over the weekend and hopefully have had time to review those changes.
Not if you don't work on the weekend.
I'm sorry. Have had at least until 2:37 today to review those changes on this glorious Monday.
While we driving up.
So I would entertain any discussion before I make a motion to adopt the Senate committee substitute.
Mr. Chair, I have an amendment. And I move for its adoption.
And Senator May, would you care to explain the amendment?
Yes, this amendment is basically just taking out of this bill the citizens review part for St. Louis City. If you look at pages 201 and 202.
It adds or any other employee for the residency requirement, like the public safety employees, they would not have a residency requirement.
Yes, that's one of the amendments. Did I miss the other one?
And then you're striking the civilian review board section.
Absolutely.
of the bill.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you. Yeah, so we're striking the civilian review board part. I just didn't get to the other part. We're just adding any other employee.
Okay, so Senator, would you care to discuss your amendment any further before I make a couple of comments on it?
Absolutely. So basically, we have the Civilian Review Board in St. Louis City. I'm sure, I don't know, I think it's only one other jurisdiction in the state that has a Civilian Review Board, but nobody in this body or anywhere else has come to talk to the individuals from St. Louis City about their Civilian Oversight Committee. And so in this, I'm not sure what the intent is behind this, but I'm not going to question anybody's intent. But basically, right now, we're not expecting any changes for our Civilian Review Board from the state, basically. And so that's why I'm striking all of this language out of the bill. And also, on the other part of the amendment, extending to other city employees, they need to, basically, the public safety director, everybody has talked about, this. Basically, the city is in a 50-50 stance on where we are with hiring individuals from outside of St. Louis City. So this will allow it not just for public safety, but for other positions that are trying to be filled in that arena as well, like building inspectors and things like that.
Anything further?
That's it?
Okay. Comment briefly on this. So the first part of this amendment, I don't have any issues with. I understand that the city is interested in lifting the residency requirement, not just for public safety employees, but also for other non-city positions that do not relate to public safety. I have no issue with the removal of that residency requirement. The removal of the Civilian Review Board, just for the benefit and the committee's background, this is a priority issue for law enforcement. A couple of years ago, the General Assembly passed Senate Bill 26, which put in place the Police Officer Bill of Rights. The civilian review boards, which I think exist only in the city of St. Louis and in Columbia, have been used to circumvent some of the due process rights that we put into place as a part of Senate Bill 26 and the Police Officer Bill of Rights. And so I would be opposed to that portion of the amendment.
So I would have to ask, what evidence or what things have the Civilian Review Board, what evidence are they showing where it has been in violation or in conflict, whatever? You're right. And City of St. Louis wasn't in agreement with, what you passed in Senate Bill 26 either.
Sure.
So,
But it passed the General Assembly.
yeah, but
And-
the
and
General Assembly is not
the-
St. Louis City, it's
the-
local control.
the
Since
intent-
when are we going to
the-
smaller government?
Well, I mean, Senator, I don't know that we need to get into a back and forth here in the committee on this issue. You've said your position. I've said mine, that I think this closes a loophole that was an unintended consequence that's been left open by these civilian review boards in the city of St. Louis and in Columbia. And, the question is whether we want to close that loophole. And so, the committee will have an opportunity to vote on that. And if we want to have a more protracted conversation, I would suggest that we do that in the floor, not in the committee.
Well, that puts this bill in jeopardy.
Oh, I understand.
Absolutely.
All right, so, gosh, if this had been two amendments, I guess I would have said vote yes on the first one, and I would have voted no on the second one, but they've been rolled into a single amendment, so I'm going to be voting no.
Can I make a motion to amend the amendment, just make it just one part and then?
I'll tell you, here's what we're going to do. We're going to dispose of this amendment, and then we will make an oral motion if the amendment goes down to add the second part back in. Okay. All right. It's been moved that we adopt the amendment. There has not yet been a second.
Second.
I don't think you can second your own amendment. Senator Roberts seconds it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those contrary say no. No. Noes appear to have it. The noes do have it.
I suggest a roll call vote on the amendment.
Need a second for that? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Brad, please call the roll.
Senators Lukemeyer,
Nope.
Schroer, Coleman, May,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Thompson Raider, Trent. 4-2.
By your vote of 4-2, you have defeated Senate Committee Amendment number 1. I would now make an oral motion to add an amendment as Senate Committee Amendment number 2 that incorporates lines 2 through 3 of Senator May's Senate Committee Amendment number 1 that would extend the repeal of the St. Louis residency requirement to all city employees. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those contrary, no. You guys have it. You have adopted Senate Committee Amendment number 2.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Coleman.
in deference to my former office mate, I'd like to make a motion that we put back into the bill the brass knuckles piece from the House that was taken out.
Any further discussion on legalizing brass knuckles?
So basically,
We still would need a second for this amendment to
So-
even be.
so my understanding is that brass knuckles was under, it was under the, what's that thing you always try? use?
Definition of a dangerous felony. So
Yes.
brass knuckles are considered a dangerous weapon, and this would remove brass knuckles as a dangerous weapon.
But it was a lot of things in there as well. Wasn't
It's firearms, a bully stick, and then a knife are the other 3 that are in there, and then brass knuckles is the 4th.
it? So now we're going to remove it as a dangerous weapon. So do you think people are going to start picking up brass knuckles and beating the heck out of people?
Well, Senator, I guess there's only
I
one
mean,
way to
you know.
find out.
I mean, but. And so what reason are we removing it? Why are we changing it now?
It had been in this bill under the underlying bill, and my former office mate was the one who's been putting it on House bills for the last 5 years, and I thought that I would make an attempt to save it for him in
And who
this
was
bill.
that?
Okay. Oh, okay. Second, the removal of brass knuckles by Senator Roberts. All right. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Those are contrary, no. No. The noes appear to have it. The noes do have it. You've defeated Senate Amendment number 3.
Mr. Chairman, I have a more serious amendment that hasn't been distributed yet, that I'm sorry I didn't get a copy to everybody passed out. Over the weekend, it came to my attention that in the city of Kirkwood, there was a police officer, a law enforcement officer who this murderer who the state put to death in November of 2022 now has a sign in his memory on the highway for him. It seems like an egregious oversight that we would allow those who have been convicted and in fact put to death by the state would be recognized on our highways, and this amendment would prevent that from happening. So I'm going to read it to the committee, and then I'm going to pass it in to you. And I apologize because I frankly made a stink last week about language that had not been vetted or have a hearing, and now I have egg on my face with the same thing about an issue that has just been brought to my attention. So if the committee doesn't feel comfortable voting it out for the same reasons I didn't feel comfortable last week, I totally understand. This would create a new section 227.850. Notwithstanding any provisions of the law to the contrary, the Department of Transportation shall not erect any sign designating a highway named for any person who has been convicted of the killing of a law enforcement officer or permit any signage in the person's memory. And with that, I'm looking for a second.
I would second. It's been seconded by Senator Trent. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of adopting Senate Committee Amendment Number 4, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those contrary, no. The ayes have it. You've adopted Senate Committee Amendment Number 4. We're now back on the underlying bill. Any further discussion?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, one more thing. There's a number of new felonies that are created in the Senate substitute, creating new Class D, Class C, and Class E felonies. I would just like to say again, I am deeply concerned about our whittling away at the work that was done rewriting the criminal code. Those have all passed this committee despite my objections previously, and I think there's other important sections in this bill, so I'll be a yes, but I would like to see those brought out on the floor, if this makes it to the floor, after Senator May's concerns with the other bill, or with other parts of the bill. Thank you.
Any further discussion on House Bill 90? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to make a motion that we roll the amendments that were previously voted on into a new Senate committee substitute. Do I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those contrary, no. You guys have it. I would now make a motion that we adopt the new Senate committee substitute, House committee substitute for House Bill 90. Do you have a second? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those contrary, no. You guys have it. You've adopted Senate committee substitute for House committee substitute for House Bill 90. Is there any further discussion before we vote the bill? Seeing none, I would now make a motion that we vote do pass Senate committee substitute for House committee substitute for House Bill 90. Do I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. Brad, please call the roll.
Senators Luetkemeyer,
Aye.
Schroer, Coleman, May,
No.
Roberts, Thompson Rader, Trent, 42.
For your vote of 42, you have voted do pass Senate committee substitute for House committee substitute for House Bill 90. Although we usually do not do this in committee, given the fact that it is the last, practically speaking, day that we could vote a bill out, we just heard Representative Veit's bill. All the provisions in that bill, I think, have previously, if I'm not mistaken, all of them have been previously voted through this committee. And this is, again, the extension of the court automation fund, the salary fix for court reporters. It has the provision in here that deals with not including personal information, social security numbers, et cetera, of individuals on case filings. And then it has a technical fix to remove some provisions relating to Missouri Postconviction Drug Treatment Program. This was a fix from the Department of Corrections. There was some language that had not been deleted during a prior session. So the only thing that is different than the committee's work is that we, in the most recent version of the court automation fund, we repeal the sunset completely, and the representative was in support of that. And so I'm going to make a motion that
Mr. Chairman,
House Senate Committee Amendment number 1 to House Bill 990.
Don't I have to say it matches something?
Oh.
That's what I'm
You could say it matches our Senate Committee sub for House Bill 994, voted out 2 weeks ago.
Okay, before I make my next motion, Senator Coleman, do you have comment?
I just wanted some clarifying.
Mhm.
So currently, as the representative presented the bill, it does not have the sunset removed, and we're
Correct.
planning on making a motion, you're planning on making a motion to amend it. Mr. Chairman, I believe that that amendment will be adopted,
Yep.
and then if it is adopted, then the bill would now fail because it would be 3-3. Because I am happy to vote the bill out of committee, but if the amendment gets on, then I have consistently been against that position. And so
Okay.
I just wanted to let the committee know that that might not be the right path.
So for the record, we have previously voted out of the committee, Senate committee substitute for 997. 994.
Right. There were just the votes to cover my no vote, and there wouldn't be this time.
Are we talking about House Bill 90?
House Bill 994.
You're just talking about removing really the linchpin is removing the sunset for the court automation fee.
It was 5-0.
The vote was 5-0 with one absent. So I'm going to make a motion that we amend House Committee substitute for House Bill 90 by striking the provisions that have the sunset in place for the statewide court automation fund to mirror what the committee voted out in Senate Committee substitute for Senate Bill 9, or Senate Committee substitute for House Bill 994
Why are we removing the sunset?
to be consistent with what we previously voted out, and the court automation fee is something that we renew every 3 years right now, and the court system really could not function without it. And so rather than having the courts come back in every 3 years and do the same thing over and over and over and over again, which we've done since I think the 90s, we're just asking to take it out so we don't have to keep going through the same exercise again. And it was previously voted unanimously out of the committee.
Mr. Chairman, may I? The only reason I don't like giving up leverage for the executive or for the legislative branches, if the other branches of government are not responsive, it gives up our leverage for the future people who we don't know. It's true that the courts have been quite responsive to this General Assembly and have been a joy to work with. My worry is we don't know what's happening in the future. So that's why I tend to not like to get rid of leverage for the General Assembly. But it's not a commentary on the current relationship. It's preserving things for the future.
So I have made a motion to adopt the Senate amendment. Do I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those contrary, no. The ayes have it. You have adopted the Senate Amendment 1. I would now ask that we roll Senate Amendment 1 into a new Senate Committee substitute for House Committee substitute for House Bill 90. Do I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those contrary, no. The ayes have it. You have adopted the Senate Committee substitute. I would now make a motion that we vote do pass Senate Committee substitute for House Committee substitute for House Bill 90. Do I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Brett, please call the roll.
Senators Lukemeyer. Aye. Schroer. Coleman. May.
Aye.
Roberts. Thompson Raider. Trent. 5-1.
By your vote of 5-1, you have voted do pass Senate Committee substitute for House Committee substitute for House Bill 90. I would now make a motion that we exit executive session. Do I have a second? Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those contrary, no. You guys have it. We're out of executive session. And before I make the adjournment motion, we have now, I think with the exception of one bill, voted everything out of the committee now. Does not seem to be much point this late in session having another committee hearing. So I just want to thank the members of the committee for all of your hard work this session. I know This committee in particular, I think we have had the record every year that I've been chairman. We have more bills referred to our committee than any other committee in the Senate, and I think that holds true for this year. And we end up dealing with a lot of heady issues, whether it's reforms to our state's civil code, whether we're dealing with criminal issues, or whether we're dealing with issues of public safety. I know some of which are sometimes maybe a little controversial and require a little bit more discussion, but appreciate all the committee's work and diligence, and also would like to thank our excellent research attorneys here in the back, Katie and Mary Grace, for their excellent work. And with that, I would make a motion to adjourn. It's been moved and seconded. We are adjourned.